now because we're 2 minutes late. That's on time.
I just started. I didn't even give us a countdown because why? Who cares? Welcome to the.
We're live.
We're live, everybody. Welcome to the Nomad Project with Sam and Joe. We're live here on September 3rd, 2023. If you're listening to the show live, you should. If you're not, you can record it. We're going to record it and post it later. You can listen then. But if you are actually watching the live stream on the YouTube channel, by the way, it's the Purposely Pixel YouTube channel. Should be watching that right now. We have Andrew, FatProduce, decided to schlup on in. It's been kind of busy last couple of months getting some stuff done with some personal stuff and that kind of stuff. I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to get some stuff done, and maybe we'll come on." So we were able to get him slotted out, and he could carve out a little bit of time with his busy schedule to join us. So hey, Andrew, thanks for coming by, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a privilege to be here. It's great. It's been too long.
Yeah, well, we try not to for our favorite guests to come on, and like I said, we try not to wait too long because it just I can't remember. I don't know if it's been about a year since the last time we had you on, or at least earlier.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah,
it's definitely been too long. So.
Oh yeah.
How are you? Yeah. So how's everything going? Yeah.
It's going good, actually. You guys caught me at the right time. Actually, I just upgraded phones from my Note to the Sony, which even the same case.
Yeah.
but yeah,
very good taste, sir. Very good taste.
Yeah. Well, it's essentially, I was like, you know what? They can pry the micro SD card out of my cold dead hands. So plus it's nice too because I had an XE1 compact back a few years ago and I loved it, and I'm just ready to be back on the Sony train, especially because I wanted something that's not as wide. So yeah. I
love the 21:9. I actually love it.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It fools me into thinking it's a smaller phone.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when did you pick that up? Is it fairly recent?
Oh gosh, maybe 3 weeks ago, I'd say. Okay. It's been great. It actually is kind of funny though. It wasn't until last week that I realized that I had 60 hertz on the entire time. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, but then
I did that for a few hours. To be fair, I did do that for a few hours.
And then I was like, you know what? I'll just keep it on 60 hertz because it never bothered me on the LG V60. So, and I'm just like, I get the extra battery life. So,
yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things that I guess if you really, it doesn't bother you and you're able to kind of work through it, and it's okay for whatever. And again, it's nice. It's all the good stuff. I mean, I like the 120 hertz. Actually, to me, I think the sweet spot to me is 90. I like the 90. I think that's you get a little bit of the smoother, but you don't get the impact of the battery. I like phones that give you the 60, 90, 120 spread. I kind of like that. I kind of like having a little bit of a middle ground.
They never give it to you though, do they? It's very rare.
Yeah.
Sean P. Sean's in the house.
It's weird though, like because didn't the OnePlus 7 Pro have 90 hertz?
I believe so. I know on the and on my Fold 5 there is. It's just either I don't even think it actually says 90 or it just says adaptive or something like that. I don't even know. I have to look at the display. It doesn't even say the numbers. It's really just says
Samsung's like trust us.
It just says adaptive and standard. Standard is 60, adaptive is the 120. But of course it scroll. I guess I'm assuming it's scrolling. It's adjusting as needed. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good. So I'm glad that I had the 5 Mark IV, I think is what I had. And I liked it. I will tell you that I wasn't a fan of the thermals on that.
Yeah.
It got really warm, no real reason. I mean, I remember I was at the park and I wasn't even outside. It wasn't warm outside. I think it might have been in the upper 80s, maybe low 90s, and I wasn't in direct sun. I was kind of in a shaded area. And I remember I was scrolling the internet. I was looking on a Google search or something like that. I was just searching for something. I was reading an article, and all of a sudden it's like touching the back. I'm like, why is this getting warm? I'm not doing. I had nothing else running. I didn't have a bunch of apps in memory or anything. I didn't have a bunch of apps running in my task change switcher. It just was like getting warm for no reason, and it happened a lot that week or two.
Dan found the same, didn't he? He said,
yeah. And I was just like, what is going on with this? Again, I can understand under load. I can understand if I was doing something, playing a game. But I'm thinking, okay, if I'm doing this, what happens if I do play like
for really go intensive on it,
or something, or if I'm doing something intensive, man, what this thing's gonna cook? So I don't know what that was about. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, well, it's it's one of those things where at least in my experience, I've only had one instance where I had some sort of thermal issue, and it was when I was out camping not long after I had gotten the phone, and it was over 90 degrees outside, and humidity was really high, and I was in camp playing around with the Cinema Pro mode. Okay. And doing lots of extended recording with it, just basically figuring out the controls, and then I ended up having a little thermal warning. But that was the only time I've ever had any sort of thermal issue with this. So whatever they did with this generation, it ended up it seems like they fixed it, most of it, which is pretty nice.
I'd say, because I had it in Turkey and it wasn't bad there, considering I was in 33 degrees.
But you were using the 1, not the 5, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So that could be another thing too. Like, I am kind of curious about the 5 Mark V, but
I was going to get onto that. I'm tempted.
Yeah, you're tempted. What do you think about them losing the telephoto?
Yeah, it does suck, but I can understand why. I can understand.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Like, it's one of the.
So we're ditching the telephoto board still at $9.99, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, that's part of the issue, because I don't get, like, I get it that the quality of the main sensor, and it's the same sensor that's on the 1 Mark V, and it's great, but it's still digital zoom. Yeah, you're digitally cropping it still, and I don't know. We'll have to see, but the one thing I will say about the 5 Mark V that looks great are the colors.
Mm.
Yeah, like I said, and to be fair, we all know, at least anybody who's paying attention, who's a tech enthusiast, would know that the Sonys are always going to be, they're always pricey, right? They're always kind of like high, and we're talking 13, 14, 15, and some, I guess the Pro I wasn't that like 1,600 or 1,599 or something silly like that. Yeah. So if you're going to be on the Sony market, you either have to get it through a carrier, which in the United States isn't really a thing, or you're going to have to shell out the money, or you're going to have to wait and maybe get like a Mark IV.
And if you want the 5 Mark V in the UK, O2 has got it exclusively.
Wow.
Plug in the home team. Speaking of home teams, how'd your buddies Arsenal do today? Wound up winning against Man United. So that's
yes. But it was in the 97th minute, Sam.
What? Why was there 7 minutes of penalty time?
So stoppage time. So like every bit of stoppage time now they add on.
Well, yeah, I understand that's what they're supposed to do, but there was 7 minutes of stoppage time in this match.
Yeah, whereas more than that. It was 8 in total.
Jesus.
We scored another one after that. We won 3-1.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, good. So Arsenal won. So Joe's in a good mood. I saw that our buddy Paul, was it Paul that was making the comments about the? I guess he's a big Man United fan. So.
He's massive Man United fan. Geeky stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see how that goes.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, it's Joe's fault. It's Joe's fault.
Yeah.
So anyway, and it's if you got the Xperia and you're using it, it's just getting a hold of ones kind of. I mean, again, you're going to be paying full retail because you can buy them at Best Buy, but they rarely go on sale. I don't usually. I see like Motos go on sale. I'll see some Samsungs go on sale at but at a Best Buy or locals. But man, I can't remember the last time I've seen an Xperia go on sale unless it's a year or so old, and then by that time they don't even carry them anymore.
Well, and they hold their value. Like right now on Swappa, I'm looking right now at a Sony Xperia 5 Mark III, and right now it's around $500.
Oh yeah, I mean they're definitely. It's if you're not going to buy it, you're not going to get the Moto, right? You're not going to get the Moto drop or the infamous LG drops back in the day. Hashtag RIP LG. But
gosh.
But you're not going to get that same. Yeah, they are definitely going to hold a little bit better, probably than most Android phones that I know. Speaking of, like, you can get an LG V60 now for what on a T-Mobile for $159.
What? Oh my god!
Andrew, did you get a free gift with your Sony?
No, I did not. So I ended up selling my house, and the way it ended up working was it was after it had been released. So I didn't end up doing any pre-orders, and even then, I wasn't the ones that were available here were these earbuds that were like, I guess, open back earbuds, and I was not. Buds. Yeah, and I wasn't super like I have some Sennheiser over the ear open back ones, headphones, and so I wasn't really super enamored with what they were offering this time. If it was some of their over the ear like noise canceling like we've seen in the past, I would have been all on board with it. But it didn't really get me that much. I kind of would like to get the I forgot what it's called, but it's basically the vlogging kit.
Yes, I would love to have that. Yeah.
I'm waiting for it to show up on eBay at a discounted rate here. But that one's a big one that I'm really looking forward to, just because, I mean, this phone is really asking for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm jealous when I see TK with his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing too, I found a little that I've discovered is there's a pretty narrow case selection I found. There's not really a whole lot out there, like
hence us having the same case.
Right. Yeah. This Beacon's basically right now is one of the most protective cases that they've got currently. And the other one is I'm looking at is like the double case, which is pretty interesting, but they are pulling out of the United States, it looks like. And so you can get them from Taiwan's website, but it's for a $40 case. You're going to be paying over $100 to get it here. And so I've got one coming in from eBay, and we'll see how that one turns out.
That's cool. Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is when you're getting some of these devices that are maybe less mainstream than others, you're really looking at a significantly degraded aftermarket kind of process, cases, aftermarket accessories, those kinds of things. You're not going to get the same kind of thing. So yeah, and he's talking about the 1.4, 1400.
Wow.
Yeah,
I could. The problem, it's like if it didn't have the thermal issues, that would be. I don't know. Even then, I would think that should be down to $1,000 right now.
Yeah,
on Amazon.
Yeah. Easy is in the chat, and we say welcome, sir. Hey, Eric, how are you doing? So always glad to have my other peeps, Sean and Gigi and Barry Johnson, all of them come through, and also Jermaine's in the chat as well. Thanks for swinging on by, Jermaine. He's doing some good work, doing some camera tests again, and I think he had was he doing something I saw the other day? He was doing was he doing a render for a device? I can't remember what it was. Last 2 weeks have just been so busy with me, and just moving Anna back, and it's just been a blur. So took some vacation time, but I still was trying to pop in online. I know it's funny because my boss is like, "You make sure you take the time off." But then she'll text me, asking me questions. I'm like, "Wait a minute, I thought you were wanting to say, well, make sure you don't log on and do stuff. But hey, can you answer this question?" I was like, it's just kind of a weird place I work. So they want me to take the time off, and they still have to ask me questions. It's kind of bizarre how that works. It's cool.
Testing you.
Yeah, PS5 Pro. Yeah, there you go. That was
nice.
Yeah, I knew he was doing something.
I want to see that.
And the engineers in the chat, Barry Johnson. Yeah, he snuck in a render. Yep. So I know he was working on something. So I'm looking forward to his content. As always, if you're not subscribed, please do so to Jermaine's Lens. It's awesome. He does a really good job. We try to get him to talk into doing another one of those little historical city kind of day in the life kind of things like he did. Ooh. Which I thought was, and he it's a very hard to film, but I told him I thought it was a fascinating. He gave a little historical things. He talked about the town and doing some of that. So not only did you get the camera chops, but you also got a little historical lesson about the town. I thought it was kind of fascinating. I thought it was really interesting. And I kind of documentaries. I kind of get into that kind of stuff. I'm all big for that. So anyway, foldables, they're kind of a big thing. I got about 2.5 weeks into the Fold 5, and I'm really liking it. So what is your thought about it? I know it's probably not a form factor that you would use or have used very much, but what do you think? Do you think still going to be niche? What's your thoughts on foldables or flippables, if you want to go to that?
I guess I think that they are kind of the future ultimately. However, I think that there are some. I think the problem we have now that's keeping them from really progressing at the pace that we thought that they were going to be progressing right now, at least in North America, is just lack of competition, and Samsung basically gatekeeping and being so iterative. It's since they have not very much real competition here, they don't have any incentive to really push the hardware side, because so I think that they are going to be the future. I think that the progress is slow. I feel like the only real upgrade that we got, aside from the processor, or the chipset, is the hinge, because I think that the hinge for this is going to be basically setting the standard, I feel like, for Samsung foldables on the hinge side forward for the next few generations. And I think it was a very, very important one, because I'm really curious to see if the spontaneous cracking issues and screen protector peeling away is lessened a lot with the new hinge design. But we need more competition to be able to drive it. Also, it's kind of that way is kind of why I ended up not quite. I'm waiting at least a couple years to go into the foldable realm, or flippable. The flippables, I was really looking at the Moto Razor. No, was it Razor Plus?
Yeah.
And it's the problem with those two. It's just the compromises in camera. That was the other thing too. Because I was basically thinking about doing the Fold 5 or the Xperia, and the fact that the Fold 5 was going to, because going from my Note 20 Ultra was going to be a downgrade in the camera experience. That's one of the big contributing factors as to why. But I think that's really just going to come down to them having hardware competition, because I don't feel like Samsung has had hardware competition since Huawei left the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I would agree.
Definitely.
And also, don't just so you know, Sean's still lurking around the chat. If you mention that Razor, he's going to tell you it's trash. So just go.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was not a fan. And I heard some other reviewers talk about, the hinge was creaky and the build quality wasn't as good probably as the Flip 5 and those kind of things. So I have a soft spot. I do like Motorola phones, although I'm not a fan of the Razors per se, but I had some of their other devices, and I like the double chop. I like the twisted camera. I like Moto. The thing I don't like about Motos is their update schedule and their security patches are
atrocious.
a little. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, especially now. It's like, I mean, and these manufacturers have figured it out. I know Samsung and all of them have figured out that you can't bring phones to market and have that kind of situation going. That really has to get a lot better. And Moto just has not seemed to have done that, as it were. They just haven't.
That's definitely a Lenovo Moto on that part. Yeah.
See, told you. I knew he would say something. Yep. I knew it. So just I don't worry, Sean. I made sure that when he mentioned the Razor, I made sure that I represented correctly, and I made sure I put that out there.
Well, I will say it's like the last Moto that I really got my hands on, mainly because I've helped my dad with his so many times, is the Moto Z4. My dad's still rocking that with the Moto mods. And and so we just set up his turbo power packs that he buys, because we set them so that it charges his phone just to the internal battery up to 80% to just preserve that battery, and then he just uses the Moto packs till they're dead, and then buys another one. And so he's just been using that, and it's still going pretty strong despite living in the stone age of updates.
Oh yeah. So yeah, and I kind of missed the Moto mods. I thought it was kind of a neat little thing they were doing. So
better than LG's mods.
Yeah. Oh, the Friends. I think they were called Friends.
Yeah. Because what was it? The G5, where if you wanted to, you could fill the entire phone with sand if you wanted to. The way it was designed.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. And the 2022 was also and I think phone. Yeah. The Think phone's cool, but the Razor's just trash. Especially now that you got the flippables. I mean, it's a shame, but I agree. Actually, somebody just sent me an article that the Mate 60 is coming out. For Huawei.
Ooh.
And
the P60 Pro looks amazing.
Yeah,
I really
like
of
course
it.
It's going to be China only, which is kind of a depressing situation. And my P30, I don't know if everybody. I think I meant to mention this a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it's been a couple of months. My dog bit the corner and broke the digitizer of my P30, so I had.
Oh no!
And which is weird because I don't know why this is, and I've never been able to figure this out. I could get that to work on AT&T. It fired right up, and I would get, and it's funny because I would put my SIM in the phone, and I would get a text message from AT&T, a warning stating, "Hey, this isn't a supported phone," but I never had any problems with it. I made every call, got every text message, it worked perfectly fine. LTE, data, all of it. I didn't get the voice over LTE, but I mean, but it worked without a charm. I was like, "What is going on?" It's insane. I don't know why it ended up, but but I couldn't get any of the Gigi sent me the Find. It would not work. I couldn't get it to work on T-Mobile or Motorola.
Who's your fold with, Sam?
AT.
Oh, you didn't get to leave them then.
No, and I'm not going to because I am going to pay off all the devices so that way the only phone is just this one, and I'm kind of going to, and that way at least I only got one. So in case I do, I have to move. There's no other way because I tried T-Mobile, I tried Mint, I can't get service out here where I'm at. It's just I can't switch carriers to a device where I
move to the UK.
I'll move to the UK. That's what I'm going to do.
It just stinks. It just stinks having to because I'm using Cricket Wireless, which uses AT&T's towers, and it's like I don't want to go to a carrier like Verizon just because I don't want to be limited to their selection of devices. But I will say even with my Xperia, I've had, if I take out the SIM card, I have to go and like toggle my APN settings in order to receive calls. Which is a weird thing because it's so essentially what I do is if I have to take out the memory card or anything or the SIM card, I just power the phone off and do it just because then it never knows, at that point. But it's a weird issue because I upgraded to a 1 terabyte memory card and I did it, transferred everything, put it in there. I was like, okay, cool. Then I realized 12 hours later that people have been trying to get in contact with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was like, I've got voicemails? What?
And I would go up to my parents' house and they live, in West St. Louis County, and everything worked fine. But then it'd work for about an hour. And then all of a sudden I was getting, text messages wouldn't go through. And it was just like, so I'm just kind of same thing with my high speed internet. All I have is Uverse. There's nothing else. I don't have T-Mobile. I'm on the AT&T fiber says that I'm on the roadmap. I've been on the roadmap for 5 years. I don't know. It's the longest roadmap of ever.
It's a long road. It's a long ass road, Sam.
It's like a transcontinental highway. I don't know what's going on. I mean, so I don't have any choices. Like if I moved to closer into St. Louis, I'm sure I would have. I would take Charter, and I would like to try Mint Mobile and even T-Mobile. I had no problem with Mint Mobile. I actually like their service. I thought it was pretty for the price point. I really got it to work pretty well. It was too unreliable out here. I couldn't get it. Even when I would put it in my regular phones, it would be spotty at best. And I just can't, and I just can't do that. So it kind of sucks.
Well, T-Mobile in general in Missouri, it's gotten a little bit better, but I had T-Mobile for a while.
A little shaky.
Yeah. Well, and I was down so Columbia was okay, which is kind of between where Sam and I are right now, equidistant basically. But down in southwest Missouri, where I was living for a while, and I go visit family, nothing. Nothing. You were and just absolutely unusable. So, and I suffered with that for 2 years. So yeah.
No, Joe, it is not. It is not as hydrating as a cup of water. And folks, if you are, drinks up. If you are hydrating, do so right now. I'm actually running quite low on my George Harrison Beatles cup. But,
nice.
Actually, I'm down to 2 of them. The other one delaminated to the point where you can't tell who it is on it anymore, and the other one I broke it. I dropped it and cracked it.
Oh,
so I'm down to 2. So I've got George and I got Ringo. Which it's weird. I don't know why.
2's better than none.
Right, 2's better than none. So yeah, and speaking of, Jimmy Buffett passed away the other day. That kind of sucks.
Yeah,
man, that kind of stinks. Man, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of his music, but I did think I did enjoy his music. It was kind of.
Well, it's just sad seeing the old staples passing. It's kind of like Bob Barker. He was he was one of the last old school game show hosts that's still around too. So it's except for Pat Sajak now.
Oh, well, you're not feeling the wink, Martindale? You're not feeling the wink? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then the funny thing is, somebody mentioned that the only reason they remembered him was from The Water Boy. Oh no, from Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I forgot all about that scene.
He's like, "Am I a joke to you?"
Right, which is also just so clear, one of the best comedic scenes in probably history of all the phones is Bob Barker and him fighting in the middle of this golf course. It's hilarious. It's pretty good.
Gosh.
So it's just weird to see. And I mean, I didn't think people were as old. I mean, I didn't know Bob Barker was 99 years old. That's kind of
you know what though? He didn't overbid.
No, right.
He would have gotten on The Price is Right.
$1. Got $1.
Oh man, yeah, it's like you see that and all you think of is the microphone that he had that was that was as tall as his torso, so you just have to hold it at his hip.
Well, that was that old. That was that. I mean, if you watch these old game shows like The Joker's Wild, all these old game shows, that was that stem mic that everybody it was just real thin with that little top, condenser on the top. That's all it was, man. Yeah, and Richard Dawson. Oh, yeah, Richard Dawson on the Family Feud, dude. That was some game. Yeah, just go game shows. I mean, just go wild, man. Like Joker's Wild and Press Your Luck and all those old game shows. It was kind of crazy, man. I used to love game shows back in the day. That was kind of my favorite thing. I wasn't a huge Price is Right fan. It was okay.
The thing I liked about The Price is Right was the mini game where they, everyone's lined up to get the person who's going to go up on stage. Like my favorite one was that kind of early mini game, and then the Plinko. And that was basically the rest. The rest was I'm gonna go to the bathroom now.
And I don't know what the game was that would go the Alpine one would go yodeling, like they would go up that stupid hill.
What?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was an Alpine game, so you had to bid within dollars. They would show you a product. It was like like $93, and you'd have to get it within. And so every dollar you off, it would go up this little ramp. I think it was.
What sound did it make again?
Like something like that.
I love that.
He'll figure it out. And Luis just told us to go to hell, so that's okay. I'm just kidding. He's saying hello, folks.
The fun of the prices. The fun of watching The Prices right now, like especially the old episodes, is it's like a time capsule of consumerism. So you go back. Not only are you like, if you're gonna guess some of the, well, one, it's fascinating seeing all the old appliances, from the 70s and 80s and 90s go through. But also you're like, okay, what's the bid and what was the value of the dollar at this point?
Oh man, do yourself a favor when they go brand new car, and it's like an '83 Datsun, and the retail price is like $38.50. You're like, wow, that's crazy. Right? Yeah. Plinko was based. I think it was. They had little magnets back there.
Oh yeah. I just imagining them. I haven't seen any because I don't know if they did this, but it's just like, here's your trip to East Germany.
Yeah, like,
I'm
not feeling the DDR right now. It's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. Well, and the funny thing was that show, and then there was always the big rumor that always heard, the big wheel that they would always spin, that was, that there were brakes inside of it, so they could control where you stopped and that kind of thing. So because I've seen people, I mean, like literally to jump up there, and I mean they haul ass and pull that. Right, and then there was people would pull it, but I mean they had always made the component or the complaint that inside they had braking systems, so they could kind of slow it down just a bit, so they could goose which number it actually landed on. So I mean, half that stuff's rigged. I mean,
that's why the bidding game was so fun, because it's just purely based off of what your guess is for the value.
Right.
That was
cool. It's interesting how we really don't have like game shows like that anymore. That isn't it's not really a genre. It's more reality TV and that kind of thing.
You do in the UK still.
So like what's a big game show that's currently like going on that is in the UK is that you do you watch it or you just know?
I don't watch any of them, so don't ask me that, because I can Google it. There's definitely, I've seen them.
All right.
While I'm Googling it, Sir Michael Parkinson passed away as well while I was on holiday.
Was that
game show host? Not a game show host, a talk show host.
Oh, okay.
Michael Parkinson, yeah.
Get on, stop by. Yeah, Joe is looking clean. He's fresh and so clean. Everybody's looking clean. I got a haircut.
Oh, thanks, man.
You can't notice it, man. It's okay. It's because I'm losing my hair. It's fine.
Yeah.
I always said I like that guy. Galen Gadgets. Check him out.
Absolutely. Great channel. I know he used to do a podcast, and I don't know if he still does it. Live streams and stuff like that.
It was Delavan, wasn't it? Is he still doing it?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen him in a while. Problem is some of these, I mean, I've been missing all the GG stuff. It's just been the week.
I haven't been on YouTube for ages.
Yeah, so it's just a shame. I've not been doing my due diligence watching my people, so I apologize for that.
We sort it out, don't we?
Yeah, it's kind of that time of year where it seems like life tends to get in the way, and we're so busy getting stuff done, and we're like, oh my gosh, I've got this backlog that I need to go and look at. I mean, it was interesting because it's like going back to the Sony Xperia Mark V. Or 5 Mark V, like I was like, what? It's already like been announced. Like it just kind of surprised me a little bit that it came up. But of course now we'll see it available in 11 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So changing gears, games. I know we talk games. So what have you been playing? What have you been working on? Because I know there's been a couple of them come out, and then there's I'm just curious what you've been working on.
So I've been playing some Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
That one's been a lot of fun playing with some people because I play tabletop occasionally as I have time as well, and I like the original Baldur's Gate games in Icewind Dale. So I think that it's a great, like, they really the name of the developer is escaping me right now, but they did a really good job of continuing the legacy that BioWare in its prime left behind and improved upon it. Like the combat in that game, because it used to be you'd play and then you have to pause and then you'd figure out all your stuff and unpause and then see if it worked and then pause it. This way, when the combat is turn based, but it feels a lot more like the tabletop game now.
Yeah.
And it works really well. I actually I can play it on my Steam Deck. It looks slightly more like a potato on my Steam Deck, but you know, whatever. Like the core gameplay is good. Yeah, and I've enjoyed that, and I also just got Starfield, and I've just tipped my toes, barely dipped my toes in it.
I was going to ask about Starfield and kind of see. Well, I'm trying to get this adjusted so we can add whatever. And I've kind of heard mixed. So I've heard people. Well, it's Bethesda, so you know we're talking Fallout. So you know get ready for bugs because that's just the way their engine works, right? I will tell you that I'm kind of a little. I just finally got No Man's Sky, but I had it on my Xbox Game Pass, but I bought it for my PS5, and I've been back into that again. So I like that better. And then there's the other space game I've ever played, which is always I find it to be crushingly difficult and really intense. Is Elite Dangerous.
Yes.
If man, you gotta. I spent, and I swear to God, this is how intense this game is. I wanted to get to V Canis Majoris. It's the biggest star in the galaxy. It took me 120 jumps to get there, and I had to like jump like 4 or 5 stars, then fuel scoop, and then jump another couple of 8, and then fuel scoop. It took me 2 weeks to go all the way to the star for no reason, just because I want to get there and then map it and then come back. So that game's hardcore.
It's hard too because I would try to play with a friend, and they and all of my friends would be further along than me, and so basically I'd have like say 2 or 3 hours just to really get in to play with them, and I'm like, okay, well, that entire time is me trying to actually get to where they are.
Right. It's just I mean it's hardcore. So I mean right now I'm kind of in the whole. I'm still working through No Man's Sky, and I've kind of taken a break from Diablo 4 because I was playing that, and I kind of. And then I had Final Fantasy 16. I played the demo and then got the game. Haven't touched a minute of it just because I've been playing. I haven't had time.
Well, and it's like I've been playing a lot of older games too, like especially with my Steam Deck because I like to get them running on it. I like to see what I can get running on the deck. And actually, when I played a little bit earlier today was Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. That game is probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, that's the only one I've ever played. Never got into Morrowind, and I couldn't get into Skyrim. I just for some reason I just could not get into it.
Skyrim's fun. It's just pared down RPG elements. Oblivion really it looks like it takes place in a Renaissance fair, and all the people's faces look like potatoes, but you can mod it and it looks and it's I think it's just hands down probably the best overall Elder Scrolls game that they made, and I keep going back to that, and here in Kansas City they just started back up the Renaissance fair, and so now I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna prime myself. I'm gonna play a little Oblivion here and get myself my headspace all ready.
Yeah. So I guess the exploration has been disappointing. And see, that's to me, if you have a space sim or space game, that's what I like about No Man's Sky. You could literally just spend hours just jumping to stars, trying to find a different kind of planet and kind of getting out and then landing on them and mucking around and running around and doing. It's just a lot more fun. So I have been playing a lot of No Man's Sky lately and stuff like that.
Well, and it's kind of tough. The exploration in a video game is tough because it basically, in order for it to be true exploration, I feel like it has to be procedurally generated. But then that comes with its own caveats as well, where you know there's only so much you can really do, like have, and so much variation, and so it's kind of a catch-22 when you have exploration so heavily featured in a game. You know, it's kind of like Star Citizen kind of has like they kind of went the opposite approach of what Elite Dangerous did, where they want to have a whole bunch of detail on all of their planets rather than just having as many planets as possible.
Yeah.
But there's trade-offs, and also, I mean, Star Citizen still isn't a real game really yet. Like I go on, like last time I played, I got into an elevator and I fell clipped through it and fell straight down to the center of the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that.
Ouch.
I've had some, and that's the problem with No Man's Sky. It's gotten a lot better than it was at launch, but there are definitely some graphical anomalies I've run into where I've had to basically restart the game because one day the HUD just locked out and I could not engage in anything. I could it was like the HUD was gone. I just had like first person and it looked great, but I couldn't select anything. I couldn't get on my ship. I couldn't do it. I was stuck in the starbase. I couldn't do anything, so I had to restart it.
Sam, your gaming though, is it PC or on your PS5?
No, it's all my PS5. I'm not a PC gamer. I tried to get a Diablo, but then I had to use a controller. Right? I'm like, what the hell? Why don't I just use? And I don't play just because right now I was paying for it. I don't play. I've taken a break from Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft just because I can't play all of them. I mean, in the time I do have is pretty much dedicated. It was Diablo 4, No Man's Sky, and everything else. The problem is I just don't have as much time to dedicate. And so my thing is why pay $15 a month for Final Fantasy, $15 a month for WoW, and play a dozen hours a month? That doesn't make any sense to me. What I like about those two is my characters are still there. So if I ever just jump on, I can just basically buy a month and just jump on and start playing again. But I've been playing WoW since 2004. I mean, I've been playing it forever. And so
there's something to be said about, I call it like the warm blanket games, where it's just like, you know, you wrap it around you like a warm blanket because it's comfortable to play, you know, and do you guys have any like seasonality for certain games? Like for example, like October's next month. Are there any games that you guys play for, say, the Halloween season that you make a point to play? Or genres, I guess.
No, not really. I'll get into more like your thing where I'll like a game will remind me of something, and I'll like every once in a while I still have my Dreamcast, so I get, or my GameCube. I'll get up and I'll get really just in the mood, and I'll load up Phantasy Star Online and just play that for a couple of days and just kind of get that out of my system.
So I don't get to game much, and I don't have seasonal games. But if I was going to get one out for October, it'd be the old Resident Evils.
Oh, I haven't played a Resident Evil forever.
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun.
In a dark room, of course.
Yeah. The last game I really wanted to play, really like, and I try to go back to. I was like, maybe I'm not good. Is Mass Effect Andromeda? I try to get back into that, and I just couldn't.
Is it any good?
No, not really. It's not really. Not if you play the other Mass Effect games. It's really close-ish, but it's just a different kind of. I don't know. The Mass Effect, the first original 3 were really, really good. I really love those games, and my daughter really likes them too. And I just can't get into Andromeda. I don't know what it is, and there's nothing. It's not bad. It's just it doesn't feel like a Mass Effect game. I mean,
it's like the Wish.com version.
You're right. And then the only other games I really like too is I used to get into, and I haven't for long. I used to like Fable.
Fable was fun too. Yeah. Those were good. Those are kind of like you feel like you're in the Shire, you know, sort of like feeling, you know, when you're playing some of those games. What was it? The one I tend to play there's like a couple of games I tend to kind of switch between depending on the year. Around the Halloween time is either Fear, which was like First Encounter Assault Recon, which was that one was a great game. And then I might get into Doom 3. You know, just because I have to wait a while so I forget about where the monsters are that jump out of the closets at you.
Yeah,
in that game.
Let's see. So I wasn't a Doom guy. I did play a little bit of Wolfenstein. I kind of got into
Wolfenstein. I loved that.
Yeah, and so that's what I get. I don't have a whole lot of. So I saw the Starfield, and I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I'm just like. And I'd have to get it for my PC because the Xbox is not going to work. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, right now, buying any game right now is just stupid. Just because between Diablo and No Man's Sky and everything else, like I said, I played the demo, which I thought was kind of cool. You play the demo, and you pass the level, and then it saves your progress. So if you buy the actual game, you start from there. You don't have to redo that whole starting thing over again, which is kind of a cool little thing. But I literally have not played 1 second of Final Fantasy 16 literally since I bought the full game. That was like 2.5 months ago. So
do you guys like board games?
Yeah, I haven't played any in a while. So last one I still have the old Trivial Pursuits. We used to get a kick out of those.
Those are fun, especially now. Like if you have ones that are like 20 years old, and so they become harder as time goes on.
Yeah,
I'm going somewhere with this though.
Right, you have board games where you and Saoirse play, right? They have little kid games, or we're talking about like adult
board games. Yeah.
Okay, where are we going, man? What you got there?
So, have you had any good board games that they've made digital and done well? Because that's hard to do, right? They don't always do it well.
Monopoly did an okay job. Battleship.
Okay job, but it's not the same as with the houses and the money, and it's just not the same.
I don't think any of those board games really can be. Really?
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to replicate that.
I don't think it's possible because I mean, it just doesn't have the same kind of. It just doesn't have the same kind of. I mean, it's board games. And no Aditya. No, not that adult board game. God, I knew as soon as I said it, I knew he was going to jump all over that. God, no, dude, it's just not. I guess shoots and ladders, right? I guess you could play naked shoots and ladders. I guess is what you could probably.
There's one that I play with. There's one I play with my brothers and sisters called Carcassonne.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. I've tried. Now,
and it's really good.
I've tried to play that on my phone. And I'm not very good at it. And then Catan.
Oh, it's hard on your phone, though.
Is that how you say? I don't know. It's Catan or Catan. Catan. It's another card based.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've. If you don't know how to play that game, the online game, if you had somebody who could show you how to play it, maybe it's a little better. But trying to learn online, it's.
My brother's playing that. I think it's quite tough.
Yeah, it's hard to learn how to play from the digital version of it. It's not easy.
Well, and the version I learned to play on was like a Star Trek version. So it had like, the Star Trek the Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan sort of stuff. And it's the same things, but it's like a skin, however you want.
Yeah, I think they have versions of the game. Like I've seen them at like hobby shops. They have like cars and magic and stuff like that. And then they have all these versions of Catan. I guess they're like version packs or whatever that you can get and I guess they're all themed. I've seen that done it with Monopoly. They have like Harley Davidson Monopoly and also sports ones and stuff like that too, NHL ones and stuff. So
I had a Star Trek board game, right? And it's really fond memories. It was one where you had a DVD and you had to make decisions.
Oh,
yes, that was like the Klingon adventure or something, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, they sort of took over the ship. Yeah. Yeah, I have fond memories playing that with my family. It was so good.
Yeah,
those are so good.
Peter's in the chat. Hey, you joined. Yes, you did.
Hey.
You joined us at the right time. You're here, and we appreciate you. So absolutely. But I had it was a Three Stooges game, but it was a VHS similar to that, right? So you'd watch, and you'd have cars, and you play, and then you'd have to watch based on that, and then you have to fast forward. The funny thing is, you had to fast forward.
Yeah,
so that was kind of weird. So like you had to like fast forward to like your section that you picked out of these three scenes. They were.
I was thankful for DVDs.
Yeah, no joke. I just remember back in the day that those were kind of a popular thing where they started to kind of get into those interactive before like video game stuff. Where they had interactive where you actually, like Joe said, you had to watch a VHS and then get to the scene, kind of like the a choose your own adventure kind of book. They were really popular. I remember it came in a big, huge box, had 3 or 4 cassette VHS tapes that were different versions of like start here and you start. Okay, you've had the tape 1, load tape 2, and fast forward to 12 minutes. That was weird. So not exactly the most organic way to play a game, but what are you gonna do? It's the mid 80s.
But did you have fun? Was it great?
I thought it was cool. Now you could probably find those again. Old school ones, and I would like to try. That would be kind of funny that's the stuff. And I don't know. I was going to ask you guys when you remember playing stuff as a kid, either games or seeing things or whatever, or shows, and going back, going, God, this did not age well at all. Or this is terrible, right? And I was gone back. That's why I have a problem, Andrew, with going back to older games. some of them are just like, I forgot how infuriatingly irritating this game is. Like there was a game called Solomon's Key. It was on the old 8-bit Nintendo. It's the hardest fucking game ever. I hate it. I hated that game.
Well, God, lots of those old games. So last night I was playing with my cousin. We were playing a game that we played back in the 90s. It was it Ghosts and Goblins?
Oh, fuck
Ghosts
that
and
game.
Ghouls.
No,
yeah, where you had like the armor and you lose it. Yeah, and so that game is like you have to proceed very specifically through certain parts, or else you lose.
Especially when you get to the mountain, you're like on level 4, the version.
We didn't even finish it because we got stuck with the wrong weapon, and
you can't control the jumps. Right, the jumps are kind of the same distance.
Yeah.
It's very precise, and then there's been times where you get hit and you know you didn't get hit, and it registers a hit, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah, well, and then, but we were discussing it, and we were like, I think the reason why they got away with making games that particularly difficult was because at the time it wasn't having to compete for as much of our attention because we had so much less to choose from, and so
I'm curious if anybody's ever ranked the most difficult video games. The hardest video game. I would say that Solomon's Key probably is one of the hardest games I've ever played on 8-bit Nintendo. It was like, it got me so upset I broke the cartridge. That's how pissed off I got. I just said, I just went out to my driveway and just went,
ooh,
oh, and just, that was the end of it. I hated that game. And I still to this day, and I try to play it again because I actually, I saw it at a yard sale. It was like $2. I'm like, I'm going to try it. I turned it on, and within 10 minutes, I realized how much I just drove me crazy. Oh, my God. I hated that fucking game.
Oh, yeah.
I can't play it. It's impossible.
Just looked up 10 hardest games, right? Flappy Bird.
That game's not that hard. I mean, I guess
that's what I was thinking.
If you want to beat the game, which is not possible, I mean, I guess it's hard, but no.
Returnal.
I never heard of that.
No. Ninja Gaiden.
The one 8-bit Nintendo one, it was kind of tough, yeah. The ones
Sifu?
I think
Sifu?
Nah,
I'm not sure what. Cuphead.
Really? Oh yeah, well that one was kind of designed to be in the vein of those hard old games. I feel like the one that for me, because I was a Sega Genesis kid, it says Steam Deck, but similar to Genesis, in presentation. But the game that I played that was the hardest game that the first level I never beat was the Fantasia game. Oh my God, because it had a couple of Mickey Mouse games, and one was Castle Illusion, and that one was a great game. But the Fantasia, I had night terrors for a while from dying in that game.
Night terrors over a game, that's not good.
Maybe it was a slight exaggeration.
Super Meat Boy. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Apparently it's like Mario, but it's unbelievably stupidly harder. What a strange list.
Yeah, okay, Returnal. Okay, yeah, so I'd say that the game isn't hard, but the water level on that Zelda game, I want to say it's Ocarina of Time. I remember that being a nightmare. God, that was a hard level to beat, which is that water dungeon or whatever it was. I don't know.
Sekiro?
Never heard of it. Where do you get this list from? Is this an Asian? I mean, I haven't even heard of it. I mean, I've heard of Cuphead, and I've heard of Sifu. I never played it, but
Contra.
Contra is not hard.
Oh.
No, sorry.
Apparently it is according to this list.
No, it's not hard. They no. No. Contra.
Sam, I think you should make a list.
Oh, games that. Oh, no, yeah.
I feel like it should be by eras.
Right, 8-bit. Yeah.
Yes, actually, yeah.
Yeah, if you had 8-bit, and then you had Sega Genesis, and you had Super Nintendo, and then yeah, I get it. Kid Icarus, you remember that used to be a hard game to play back in the day. Karnov was kind of hard. Rygar, I remember playing the shit out of that game. I guess I have a soft spot for it.
Echo the Dolphin.
Oh my God.
Screw that game. And the fact that it got so many sequels, that means that there are that many masochists who are willing to play that game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. It's just we could go on and on. I mean, like I said, games and that kind of thing. So I guess the other thing is the writer strike. I guess it's kind of like bumming out. I don't watch a lot of TV, so but I know for a person like Andrew, I know you like definitely watch a lot of Star Trek and all those other kind of things. And I still will go down in history saying that I thought Deep Space Nine was the best Star Trek. I love that show.
It is. It really is. Well, and it's funny.
Everybody, I get arguments from all these Star Trek people. Like they think I'm insane. I'm like, I really liked the show. I thought
it's great.
Next Generation all day long.
Deep Space Nine I thought was really enjoyable. I really liked the stories.
Well, they're kind of two sides of the same coin. Where Next Gen has the Gene Roddenberry, idealized, and also like the original treatment on the subject, while versus Deep Space Nine is kind of a little bit more like, here's how a lot of this would really go along, and also put Gene Roddenberry's vision to the test, and it's interesting going back to Starfield. Armin Shimmerman, the guy who played Quark, is one of the characters. I was like, yes. Well, and it's interesting. Like, well, with the strike, like I think it's more important because this strike I feel is emblematic of a lot of issues that we have in society right now, and it's one of the most visible ones that's happening. It was even more visible than than like say the UPS strike or or any of the others. It's really important that they do have their demands, that the writers and actors have their demands met, because it's going to set the tone for everything going forward, because we're at this transition phase in the industry. And so I'm willing to wait. I just hope that certain projects don't get absolutely destroyed because of it. But, it's more important that everyone gets everyone gets their fair share.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, the fact that there really hasn't been addressed till now, and there wasn't anything that was really developed as far as compensation and those kind of things for all these new media and streaming and all that kind of stuff, is kind of disappointing. I thought that could have been worked out for a while ago, and I don't. Everybody talks about everybody's greedy. I'm like, but how would you feel? I mean, it's like, what were you going to do? It's like, you do all this writing and actors make a lot of money. Everybody's in Hollywood. Everybody's making a lot of money, right? And you don't have to write for Hollywood. You could independently write your own stuff and publish. But I mean, I think they ought to get a fair share too. It's like, take as much money as you can get. If somebody's gonna, fight for everything you can get for. I mean, I don't think it's being greedy. I think it's being, if you feel that your work is worth that compensation wise, as far as money, go for it. I mean,
and it affects the people, writers who get hired. So some show some property that you really love, like I can't say that this happened with this well, I'll just not pick a certain franchise, but say there's a franchise you really love and they're getting ready, and there's a lot of established lore and story, and they bring on writers. They're more likely to bring on writers who are going to want to work for less than maybe quality writers who want to be paid fairly, and that negatively impacts the franchise that you love. And I feel like that's that's been a possibility for several franchises over the last 20 years, and we have to change everything, and have to change how. That's why this is another reason why this strike is so important.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like I said, I at this point, I'm just amazed that hasn't been worked out. At this point, I just like, what is going on? Why is this not been worked out? I don't understand it, but you know what? It's fine. I guess it'll get worked out at some point. I haven't heard much as far as talks about it. I mean, nobody's really said a whole lot about, like, are they negotiating? Where are they at? Are they stuck? I mean, is it going to get resolved anytime soon? I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention.
Well, and thinking of it this way, Sean Astin, who for Fellowship of the Ring specifically, he was an established actor, but whenever he was cast as Samwise Gamgee, for Fellowship of the Ring, he only made $125,000 flat for his role for Samwise Gamgee, and he gets no residuals at all. Like, that's crazy. And that was 20-something years ago.
Well, man, I would tell you right now, you need to find his agent and beat his ass, because seriously,
blame the agent. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the whole point of an agent, right? I thought that was the whole point of this thing in sports. I thought that the agent was supposed to, for good or for bad, they're supposed to help negotiate, so that way you don't get in situations like that where you get basically bent over the barrel, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, shame on his agent if he had one to let him get worked into something like that and not get any residuals. And the problem is, but you don't know. They might have said, "Hey, look, if you don't take this deal, you're not going to be on the movie."
Right. Well, and apparently, Orlando Bloom had a similar deal with Fellowship, but later on he has said how basically that role launched his career. So it kind of it led him to other roles he wasn't going to have the opportunity to have. But like, I mean, shoot, even some people who are established, like it just strikes me as kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I don't mind waiting an extra. And here's the thing: I'm not a big TV watcher anyway. So if things take, I mean, besides, even when the writers weren't on strike, these shows say, "Okay, we'll have a new season. It'll be out in 36 months." I'm like, whatever happened to regular TV shows that the next season would be, you'd have the sweeps week, right, and then you get to the fall, and then that was it. It was every year you knew that the new shows are coming. I'll tell you right now, what has happened is now that we're not on these yearly based shows like they were for network shows. No offense, but these 18 to 24 month turnaround schedules for an 8-episode season is horseshit. That's
yes.
I'm sorry, you can't sit there and justify that this thing takes 24 months to film 8 shows when they can go start a movie, get a script, go on scene, go record it. It can be on location, another part of the world, and have that thing delivered within a year and a half.
Well, when the Star Wars streaming stuff is so bad about that too, because not only are you getting like 8 episodes, but some of the episodes are less than 40 minutes long.
Right.
And that's horse crap.
Right. I just can't justify that. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm okay with, a year, maybe 18 months, but some of these shows are like, it's like 2.5 years between the new season, and then you get 8 shows, and they're like at an hour or 58 minutes, and that's it. See you. You're in the show hole for another 2.5 years.
I mean, at least we're moving away now from Battlestar Galactica did this with this final season, and The Walking Dead apparently did this a lot. Was they'd have their half of a season, and then they'd have a big giant hiatus, and then they'd have the other half after this long hiatus, and they basically treat them marketing wise like they're separate seasons, even though they're not. And it was very much and it was basically a have your cake and eat it too sort of situation that they were doing, and it was just gross.
I don't know the answer to this question, so I don't know our international production scene in the U.S. Although I guess is the writers just domestically in the U.S. I'm assuming that they're just people that are part of the Writers Guild. I'm assuming that's who's involved in this, right? I don't know if this involves international actors or international writers writing for U.S.-based shows and vice versa. I don't know. That's a good question, though.
Certainly opens a can of worms, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, let's say you're a British or an Australian writer team and you're writing for an American show. Are you affected by this? I would guess you would be, because remember, it's just like any other strike, right? You have a union, right? There's writers, and you don't want to cross a picket line, right? You don't want to be writing. You want to honor the strike. So I'm sure if they had Australian or foreign-based writers and they were working on an American show that was under a writer's strike, I wouldn't write for it. I just be like, sorry, I'm not doing that. It's like crossing a picket line. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think that's big. It's scabbing. I'm not into that. I'm sorry. And I'm not a big union guy. I mean, I worked in one for years, so don't get me wrong, but I'm sorry, but I think that's kind of horseshit. If people are trying to negotiate a contract for work-related, right, either wages or benefits or whatever with the company, and they're in a union-based system, that you should not sabotage that by basically scabbing. I think you're a shitty person if you do it. There's other ways to make $1. Don't give me like I have to work this job. I have to scab because no, you don't. There's other ways to make money in this country, and you just don't have to do that. And I'm sorry. So I'm not a big fan of scabbing. I think that's kind of wrong, basically. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's a heavy topic. Talking about that. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I just haven't heard much about like any negotiations on that strike. I haven't heard anything about it. So I don't know if they're basically both sides are like, well, piss up a rope, don't write. And they're like, okay, well, we won't make shows. Okay, well, see you later. I don't think they've even talked about it really. Yeah,
this is what happens when you have righteously angry people coming up against embedded enormous assholes, essentially, and it's just, it's right now. It seems like a game of attrition.
Oh yeah. Well, of course. Is it more 2 cents? Actually, Aditya, it's more like drachma. Old Greek. Yeah. Sparta. I wrote on Troy. Me and Helen and Troy were like BFFs forever. We were cool back in the day. I'm just kidding.
You guys seen the new Black Mirror?
No.
I've only ever watched the one episode, which is the USS Callister episode, and that one was the Star Trek one. But yeah. I can't watch Black Mirror now because it's too real. I'm just like oh no, we're like 5 years away from this.
It does get a bit too real at times, but check it. Definitely watch it all. I really like it.
I've heard good things about it.
There's another one I like.
How can you have a series? How can you have a season or that's only? Oh, it's like 3 episodes. So okay, this is Black Mirror, right?
Black Mirror, yeah, they're all in individual stories, though. You can watch
episode, explore the genres, most set in a near future.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got you. Okay, yeah. Where can I watch this at? Netflix. Okay.
And the other one to check out is Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, that one's good. I watched a little bit of that one. The
animated stuff, yeah.
What was it? The show that I've started watching. It's long over, and it's a guilty pleasure because it's a really fun to kind of watch because the actors take it the characters take it very seriously, but the show doesn't. Is Supernatural. It's so silly. It was filmed in Toronto and it was a CW show, but it is hysterical. They had an episode where they went to some and they're like ghost hunters, sort of stuff, and hunting demons. But like there's an episode where they went to some alternate reality where it's the show production. Oh. And so there's all this little stuff, and like one of the actors married one of the co-stars from another season, and so she shows up as herself, and it doesn't take itself super seriously, but gosh, it's fun. It's fun cheese, and it's some fun Limburger cheese. It ran
for 15 years.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Well, and one of the guys, it was is it Jensen Ackles plays Soldier Boy in The Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only show what Becky and I are watching right now that we watch is Foundation on Apple TV. It's pretty good. I like it. And it's an Isaac Asimov book, but I think it's cool. It's an interesting. I don't always get it 100% of the time. I can't always put things together. Sometimes they don't make a lot of sense, but I mean it's a pretty good show. I like it. So that's the only show we're watching right now until that's expired. We're already probably halfway through it, whatever, and then we'll go into another show hole and have to find something. And the other one I saw was oh darn it, I can't think of the name of it now. It's right on blank. It's got Rufus Sewell and I want to say it's The Diplomat, but I don't know if that's what it's called.
Diplomat rings a bell.
Yeah,
it is. It's called The Diplomat. It's she basically becomes the U.S. ambassador to the UK, and it's pretty tripped out because she's like, she's a very she's like a case officer. She's a former military person, so she's basically, I know it gives me a whole House of Cards kind of vibe to it, but it's a lot. I don't think it's not as dark as House of Cards winds up being. People aren't just getting killed left and right all of a sudden. It's pretty good. It's got Kerry Russell in it and Rufus Sewell, who honestly is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love him.
Yeah, he's good.
I just think he's fantastic. When he's in, he was also when he was in the Man in the High Castles the first time I ever saw him. I was like, that's a really great.
That's a good show with a not super great ending because the last season should have been 2 seasons,
right?
But they had to compress it, and so that was a great show, and I loved the fact that at the end of the production, they took all the Nazi iconography and burned it so it would not be available to anyone in the post market.
Yeah,
I respect them so much for that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So I really got a good kick out of it. And no, not Soldier Boy. God Almighty. DT is in rare form today. He must be with all that lemon and ginger tea. Got him all jammed. We were off last week, so I think.
What else is in his tea? That's what we're going to ask.
I know. Who knows? I mean, he might have some little extra flaky stuff in his tea. I don't know, but we were off last week, so I think DT was just kind of like he's all pent up and he was waiting to contribute. So he's contributing. But, no, not Soldier Boy. Although that would be interesting. That would be
that would be a different take. That would definitely take the show in a different direction.
Right, absolutely, definitely a different course. Yeah, Soldier Boy, not Soldier Boy, but it's close. It's whatever. It's fine.
Same thing.
Well, we're at 1 hour 4 minutes, so we have
Gone too quick.
Well, it always does.
Mhm.
Whenever we have Andrew on, we talk about game, we talk about shows and TV and stuff like that. So it's how it always goes. Every show that we have Andrew on, it always takes.
Well, quantity of speech is not something I struggle to attain. So
right. Well,
I mean, that's good for a podcast, though.
You're light company with our show because we definitely do all that. So yeah, it's always a lot of fun because we get to talk about stuff like that. Well, we get to, again have you on. We'll talk more about because I know she said you're in Kansas City now, so like kind of how that was going and how you're liking the city. Because to be fair, not a big Kansas City fan.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's not bad. There's a lot more other places I've been city wise that just kind of work, and Kansas City just does not work for me. I don't know what it is about the city. People are fine, getting around's easy enough. I don't know. It's just it's meh. Kansas City to me is meh.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I have kind of a bias for Kansas City because I have so much family up there. Yeah. So it's like I'm a little more familiar with it than I am with the St. Louis area. So it's like it's kind of different. Like there's the one thing I will say with the St. Louis side, there's a lot of older buildings that are like the red brick sort of stuff, but there's also a lot of that stuff out here too. So it's real interesting just to see the difference between the two major cities in Missouri.
Well, yeah, and also remember the St. Louis is more of a French colonial kind of river side, the chateaus, and they had all that Mississippi River, so they got the stuff from New Orleans, and you don't get that in Kansas City because there's not you have the Missouri River, but it's not the same kind of situation. So
right,
it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, and everybody chalks it up to it's a St. Louis Kansas City rivalry. I'm like, no, it's not that because there's other places. I don't know. It's something about I've been there a couple times, and it's okay. It's not a bad. And I can't stand Chiefs fans. Sorry. I just can't. And then you know what? And then real quick aside, they kind of remind me of Cowboys fans. At least Cowboys fans haven't won anything since the mid-90s, so I can understand why. But look, Chiefs fans, I love you to death, but really, 10 years ago, you guys sucked. Okay?
Hey,
not where like 8-8 sucked. I'm talking like 3-12 sucked. You guys were bad, and the reason why I know that is because my buddy growing up, childhood wise, was a Kansas City Chiefs fan, even as a kid in the 80s and 90s, and the Chiefs were awful. They were terrible.
Well, the Kansas City was primed for that because the Royals were terrible for so long.
Yeah, they won,
and they still mostly are.
They still are, but I'm like I said, but I get it, and enjoy the team, enjoy this fun, but let's not kid yourself. You take Patrick Mahomes off that team, Kansas City Chiefs are 9-7, maybe ish.
Yeah,
because he's incredible. Sorry, that guy's stupid. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks, even in my 48 years, and I'm telling you right now, man, something's wrong with that dude. That's not even fair. Some of the shit he pulls off in these games is like.
I'm a Shark fan. It's all about the cheerleaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Dallas Cowgirls, whatever. Steve DeBerg. Oh my God. Yeah. Old school, right? Yeah. Joe Montana for a while in Kansas City. Older Joe Montana couldn't even make them good, but yeah, Steve DeBerg. Holy shit. That's an old school name right there, man. Yeah. I forgot about Steve DeBerg. Anyway. Yeah. So, and I know Sean's in here somewhere, so I know he's a big Giants fan. So hopefully the G-Men have a good season. Although Jets are going to be pretty good this year. I think the Jets are actually going to be pretty solid. Bears. I don't know, man. I want to get excited, but I know they're going to let me down because they always do. So that's another show for another day. So we always love having Andrew on.
Guys,
so Andrew,
yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you're on different football. This is the American.
Yeah, run football.
And we're
football versus football.
It's starting here. Of course, very much to my wife's very much dismay. NFL season starting pretty soon. She's really kind of upset about it. She hates NFL football season.
Does she?
Yeah. College football is where it's at.
Yeah, college football is fun. She tolerates that, but I don't watch a lot of it. But yeah, NFL, yeah.
Does she like proper football?
Yeah, kind of. I don't think sitting through a match she'd have to have some stuff explained to her, and just, I think she would understand the basis of it. I don't know. We were going to go to a St. Louis City match, and we never got around to doing it this year. So
you need to do it.
The state of Missouri is definitely starting to become a soccer state, though, or football, depending.
St. Louis has always been a huge football. Not only for sport. I mean, St. Louis area has been really huge into soccer and football. Football. It's always been that way. I mean, it's actually a surprise it took us this long to get an MLS team, considering how St. Louis has really been a really heavy soccer city in the United States. It's been really, really popular here in the St. Louis area. So I don't know why, but yeah, doing well. So we'll see. But we'll have to have you back on again soon, Andrew. Not so much of a gap this time. Maybe we'll get you on a little earlier. We'll have more chats about all this stuff. We'll talk about food, all that kind of stuff, and the typical Nomad Tech Project lore. So and well, that'll be it. Great. Joe, anything else, man? Let's go.
Yeah, just quickly. Your Fold 5. You're gonna skin that shit.
I'm gonna skin my shit. I gotta actually order that up. Although I don't know what I'm gonna do because I've got this. I don't know how to get around. I don't know how to. Yeah, it's gonna suck. I guess
it's not gonna work.
No,
that's the thing with this Xperia with the textured back. I'm not sure I want to skin that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, I definitely will be. And at least for the 10 Pro, maybe I can do that for sure. So I definitely got to reach out to the folks and over extremeskins.co.uk. Check them out. Our buddy Roddy Merritt from the other show, from the TNT podcast. He just got the blue one. I can't remember the name of it. The blue. The new one. It's like a abstract. I think it's the abstract. God, don't do that. It makes my God, it feels like
that texture's so good.
God, stop it. Anyway. So,
I'm doing it more because you said stop it.
Yeah, careful here. We could get 2 mics. You could get stereo action on that.
Go do it now, Joe. Go do it now. Yeah, sucks, huh?
What?
Just turning off. That's okay. Do it again. We'll just I'm just kidding. So,
yes.
Okay, next week the show will be by myself. I'll just be streaming solo because George is gonna. Anyway. So Shark, I did, and I'll probably talk a little bit more because it'll give me almost a month with it, and I'll talk about things I like, things I don't like, and that kind of stuff. So it'll be good. So anyway, we appreciate it. And then Matt. Always late, always great. Purposely Gaming, go check out his channel. He does all the streaming stuff and Call of Duty. He kills people for a living. Not really.
He kills people for a living.
Yeah, it's all good, man. So we appreciate it. Yeah, ASMR. Yeah, that's well, not for me, Peter. Nah, I don't want to do that. Anyway, so that's it. It's been a good show. Arsenal.
It's been a great show.
Yeah, Arsenal wins. We got Andrew on. It's a great day, right? Enjoy your stuff. Watch our YouTube channel. Skin your shit. Extremeskins.co.uk. Purposely Pixel YouTube channel. Again,
dust off them board games.
And no adult board games. Just saying, not the adult that did. About that. Maybe some Chutes and Ladders. Maybe Life, Monopoly, stuff like that. Maybe Battleship. If that does for you. Old school. All right, man. For us, for Joe, for Andrew. Thanks for coming to the Nomad Tech Project with Sam and Joe on this awesome day. Enjoy your tech. Have fun. We will see you next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Thanks for stopping by, all the people in the chat, and check us out.
We love you guys.
And tell your friends about it. All of them. Just let them know we're here. And hopefully, like I said, at the end of the day, we'll have some more guests on. We'll do some right stuff. And we got to think about a season. At some point, we got to switch seasons. I don't know when we're going to do that. We got to get TK on and that kind of thing. We don't know. Clearly, we're not exactly a very professional show around here, so we'll figure it out later. Anyways, for myself, for Joe, for Andrew, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you guys. Love your faces. See you next week. And remember, be excellent to each other. Enjoy your tech, and we'll catch you next Sunday. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.